back to The Reckoning and to the next segment we roll along. And you're not just stuck listening to Ryan. This one, no, we have pulled on an old friend of the show and also someone you will see on your ballot tomorrow if you are in the 3rd District, the 3rd Congressional District here in Missouri. I've got Dr. Bob Onder on with me. And we're going to talk a little Congress, a little Missouri stuff. And, of course, he is up for re-election tomorrow, does have a primary contender. But off we go to that conversation now. Congressman Bob Onder, how are you doing, sir? Thank you for being with me for a few minutes.
Hi, Ryan. It's great to be back.
Hey, I appreciate it so much. And, well, I tell you, I appreciate your time in Congress. I know that is just drinking from a fire hose that first term. But you apparently think there's more work to do because you're asking for a second one. How has Congress gone this year? What are the priorities you're looking at that still need to get done while you want to go back and keep taking care of those for the 3rd District?
Yeah, Ryan, I think it was a good, I'll give it a B plus, first term in Congress. The highlight of my first term was the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, which President Trump signed into law last 4th of July. And, you know, in it, we renewed the 2017 Trump tax cuts, without which we would have seen a $3.5 trillion tax increase on the American people. We secured the border. We, for once, provided the funds to fund the border wall. We ended a lot of Green New Deal silliness, and we opened up oil and natural gas for exploration and drilling. We did a lot of deregulatory things to get infrastructure and businesses going again, and we eliminated the tax on suppressors and short-barreled rifles. But there's a lot more to, and we by the way, we defunded Planned Parenthood for a year. But there's a lot more to be done. I'm working on the Chloe Cole Act to defend kids from transgender mutilation. We need to permanently defund Planned Parenthood, and we really need to do more to secure our elections. So, of course, we need to pass the Save America Act. There's a lot of unfinished business.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you just tipped, right on one of the biggies right there that so much of the base has been talking about with securing elections. Obviously, the House has been churning out, well, not just one, but multiple versions of the Save America Act, something similar. It really goes to the Senate to die. I know a lot of folks would like to say, well, that's an easy win for Speaker Mike Johnson, who I know a lot of folks are a little tenuous about, that he's really got the rock-ribbed conservative nature, or if he's still part of the swamp. But it seems like an easy win because the Senate's not going anywhere with it. What's your take on that from the actual working groups behind the scenes in the House? Is there a will to get this done, or is it just a matter of it doesn't matter what we send, the Senate's going to sit on it?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, you would call it, performative or an easy win. If you believed that House members didn't really want to do election integrity. Of course, we did it not once, but multiple times. We passed the SAVE Act, the Save America Act. We attached the Save America Act onto the budget reconciliation bill that we passed right before August recess, and then we passed voter ID separately as part of another bill. So, senators, take your pick. And Ryan, I find it not, so I believe sincerely Mike Johnson does want to get election integrity done, as do 95% of Republicans, as do 83% of the public at large, and 75% of Democrats support election integrity, like photo ID and like checking citizenship before registering to vote. So, I don't think it's a House problem at all. I think even, some of the people that you in the House that you might call, a little squishier or moderates or rhinos, even they, I think, want to get election integrity done. It's really the Senate, and it's really disappointing. I mean, I cannot believe that Senator Cornyn and Senator Cassidy and Senator Tillis have not, in many a stump speech, said that they stood for election integrity, voter ID, and citizens not voting in our elections. So it's really ridiculous because, through the reconciliation bill, the senators, they do not have to blow up the filibuster. They can pass the Save America Act with a simple majority vote. We don't even have to get all the Republicans. We just need 50 votes and then let J.D. Vance break the tie. It's unbelievable that we can't get it done.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that has, well, obviously poured itself out. Some of the rather notorious senators you just named decided not to face their voters at the ballot box again. A few of them have been ousted Here's looking at you, Senator
Yes.
Cornyn. But of course, this brings us back to the interesting conversation of who next to be Senate Majority Leader, because it seems even President Trump is pretty well done with John Thune's time there in the Senate. But let me ask you about this, because of course here in Missouri we've had, oh my goodness, a pretty raucous last couple of legislative sessions. A lot of stuff getting done. One thing, we switched ourselves over to what appears to be a 7-to-1 map. I know from your time
Yes.
in the state Senate that was something near and dear to your heart. You fought very hard for. It's finally happened, but that sends your third congressional district into, well, a lot of new counties, drastically north. Now you've got the entirety of St. Charles County. I've heard the different headlines that Democrats think they might try to flip the third district now that they've got Columbia votes in it. I'm not sure that's quite a feasible reality. What are you seeing as you travel across the district talking with constituents, or the new constituents, with your new third district this year?
You're right. I never take any election for granted. I'm not even taking tomorrow for granted, even though I don't think anyone's heard or seen my Republican opponent tomorrow. I haven't seen him at a single event or seen a single mailing from him. But I don't take anything for granted, the primary or the general. You know, our founders decided to make us House members stand for election every 2 years for a reason. They wanted us to stay close to our voters. So I've been in all these new counties: Rawls County, Pike County, Lincoln County, and so on, Audrain County. Introducing myself to voters. I've had a great reception. The new district, yes, I lose all the counties south of the Missouri River, like Osage and Cole and Miller, Gasconade, and these were great Republican counties. As are like Lincoln. I get the rest of Warren, the rest of St. Charles, Pike, Audrain. Those are great Republican counties too. But they're not quite as Republican as Osage, which is R plus 80%. So my district's a little less Republican. I do feel good about the general election, but I never take anything for granted. And I think it'll be like so many elections around the country, a contest between common sense and crazy. A common sense. Whether do we want citizens to keep more of their tax money, or did we want to raise taxes by $3.5 trillion. Every Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives voted to raise taxes by $3.5 trillion. Almost every Democrat votes for gender transition for kids. Almost every Democrat votes for funding Planned Parenthood. Every single Democrat claims that killing babies is a fundamental right. Every Democrat votes against election integrity. It will be a clear contrast, but I'm very confident that when presented with that choice, the people of the third district will send me back to Washington.
Well, and of course, time and again, a lot of folks in Missouri have just been very grateful for your support for good issues. And of course, your endorsement has carried a pretty significant weight. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I'd already booked you on the program when these things started swirling today, but we've got a lot of hot primaries here around St. Charles County, the old stomping grounds, but of course throughout Missouri. And one of them, I've seen some conflicting reports, so I figured I'd ask straight to the source here. Of course, I think it was sometime last year you had endorsed State Representative Mike Koslow here in the 108th District. But I've seen from some of the gun advocacy groups here in Missouri that you've actually rescinded that endorsement. I looked on your pages. I didn't see anything, so I wanted to ask, is that in fact true? Have you decided to switch your mind in that state representative race here in St. Charles County?
Yes, I mean, in that race, I initially endorsed the incumbent, Mike Koslow, and then I, quietly withdrew my endorsement after he, in committee, voted against the Second Amendment Protection Act. Not only voted against it, but was quite vocal against it. And he had his reasons, all reasons that I had heard before, because when Congressman Burleson and I passed SEPA back in I believe it was 2020. We heard all the same arguments, so it was very disappointing to see someone who used to represent me. I used to live in Lake St. Louis. Now I'm down in Augusta. It was disappointing to see, and I told Mike at the time, look, I like you. You're you're a friend of mine, but it only takes one anti-gun vote or one anti-life vote to lose my endorsement. So then I really didn't think much of it, and then all of a sudden in the last 24 hours, I think there's been a lot of publicity. I think one of the gun groups publicized my non-endorsement in that race, but that is accurate, Ryan.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, it's the 48 hours before an election. I always see these things fly, but I want to make sure I get it right.
Oh, there are dirty tricks that happen, but you did get it right.
Well, okay. Well, that opens my final question. I got about a minute left here with you. But let me ask this. You touch on that. It is so important. The primaries, getting things right, getting the right people. But that's because this is the opportunity to pick not just the binary choice of a pro-gun or an anti-gun, a pro-life or an anti-life candidate, but who's going to go and lead on the issue that we agree with. So I got to ask you, in Congress, I appreciate the One Big Beautiful Bill, took out the $200 tax stamp. Of course, we've made big waves with the Trump administration inside of the Education Department, all sorts of agencies. But what's the reality? What's the possibility in Congress of actually seeing things like the NFA and the Gun Control Act repealed, like the Education Department shut down, or federal funding for education? These are big things that the Trump administration can work a lot, but it really comes back to Congress to close the door permanently.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we've been working hard in the House Education Committee to devolve the various functions of the Department of Education to the states or to other federal agencies where meritorious programs belong. So that agenda that we've talked about since the Reagan administration, we're actually doing some of that already. And look, the House completely got rid of the registration of short-barreled rifles and suppressors. Mm-hmm. We completely got rid of it. That was something that we didn't have enough senators willing to stand up to the Senate parliamentarian when she knocked out that piece. We defunded Planned Parenthood and transgender procedures for a decade, and once again it was a Senate problem that they wouldn't stand up to their parliamentarian. So I think we can get some of these things done. It would help to have some senators with a little more backbone, but some of the problematic ones, as you mentioned, are leaving Congress. So I'm optimistic about the future, but we can't stop fighting.
Yep, never stop fighting. It's always a different day, and it's certainly going to be in the Senate. Congressman Bob Onder, thank you so much for being on with me. I appreciate your work, and we'll look forward to another term.
Thank you, Ryan. And I understand your next guest is Rick Braden, who I have endorsed for the 5th.
That's right. He's coming up in just a few minutes. Thank you, sir. Wish you all the best tomorrow.
Have a great week.
You too.
God bless. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. Folks, BobOnderMo.com. Go look him up, find him on socials, and make your notes voting tomorrow in our August primary. We'll be right back for another segment of The Reckoning.